This is in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in, Hunt Palmer, coming to you live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Thursday show is always brought to you by Rouse's. We are working towards the weekend. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. I got some Friday energy today, quite frankly, because I'm not working tomorrow. So we're feeling good about this Thursday show, ready to roll for the next 2 hours. Luke Johnson in his normal spot in 15 minutes talking about the Saints as they get ready for Indianapolis. I'll make a pick on that game at the end of the show. Matt McMahon met with the media yesterday as he gets ready for year two with the LSU basketball program. My SEC picks for the weekend against the spread coming up at 2 o'clock. Chris Blair is going to be with us at 2:15. No coach's show tonight with the bye week, but Chris Blair will be with us at 2:15 talking Tigers. So excited for the next 2 hours and appreciate you hanging out with us. Reminder, I'll be at Rouse's today from 3 to 5. Right when I get off the air, I'm headed to the Rouse's. Burbank and Lee be hanging out there from 3 to 5 o'clock, giving out gift cards and shirts and hats and whatnot during match show. So we'll enjoy some time out there on this Thursday, usually a Friday thing. But this week it'll be on Thursday. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see our cool new Rouse's panels that we've got here on our set. Appreciate them for bringing you our Thursday shows. As we talked LSU football for the last 3 months on this show, I can tell you personally, I've talked a ton about Jaden Daniels and how excellent he's been. I've talked a ton about Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas becoming a force on the outside and Logan Diggs' emergence as a running back and the excellent play of the offensive line. I've talked about the consistency with the offense has played. It's been a huge talking point on the show. I've also spent a ton of time talking about the woes of the defense, the injuries, the inefficiencies on defense, the shuffling deck at linebacker, and what's going on in the back end. Like, we've talked a lot about that. We've previewed opponents. Like, we've spent a ton of time talking LSU football on this show. I can't speak for everyone else, but I listen to the morning show guys most mornings. I listen to Jimmy and Charlie most days. I listen to Matt most days. Not their whole shows, but some. I haven't heard a lot about special teams. Have not heard a lot about special teams. And that's probably a really good thing, because guess what we did a lot last year? Talk about special teams garbage. Muffin punts, dropping kickoffs, getting field goals and extra points blocked. Penalties, holding, clipping, terrible coverage units. The whole thing was awful. And we talked about it a ton. Thus far, not really a talking point. And that led me down like a rabbit hole today of going, all right, well, how has it been? Because I can't certainly go back and recall every special team snap they've had, and feels like that's probably a good thing, but let's just go check it out. So I did. Punting has been excellent. Here's a little nugget on the punting. I was sitting at my computer this morning going over these numbers and preparing them for this segment, and I went, Bramlett? What's his first name? And I was thinking, like, James? It took me like 20 seconds to come up with Jay Bramlett's first name. I feel like that's probably a good thing. He's not out there all that often. But he's been great. LSU has only punted 15 times to this point, which is unbelievable. But they've punted 15 times. Bramlett is averaging 42.3 yards per punt, which is good. And LSU has only allowed one punt to be returned at all this entire season. That was a 3-yard return. That's excellent work by a guy who's really done excellent work in his entire collegiate career over 2 stops at Notre Dame and LSU. But that's about as good as you can do. Average 42 a kick, only one's been returned. You're doing your work there on the punt unit and the punt coverage unit that's forcing a bunch of a fair catch. LSU is kicked off 66 times. Been a little more action for the kickoff crew than the punt crew this year, the way the offense has played. Only 27% of LSU's kickoffs have been returned this year, 18 of them. And that average return has been 19.5 yards. So you figure they're not returning a bunch out of the end zone. You're catching it somewhere around the 5-yard line, and folks are getting to right about the 25, which is what it would be for a touchback. That unit's doing a pretty good job. Only 2 of the 18 kickoff returns that LSU has allowed thus far have gone for 30-plus yards. State had a 39-yarder, and Grambling had a 35-yarder. That's it. Nobody's run it 40 yards. So I would suggest, because I'd forgotten about the Grambling 35-yard return, if we're being quite honest. I do remember the Mississippi State return. But outside of that, you've done a nice job of kicking it down there. A lot of times it's a touchback, and then sometimes you're having to tackle them, and you're doing that in 20 yards, and I would suggest that's a really good job. So your kicking units from punting and kicking off are doing a very good job, and I would suggest your kicker is doing a solid job. Damian Ramos this year is 11 out of 13. That's 85%. He's only missed once from inside of 30. That was a 23-yard miss against Grambling. Hand up. I don't even remember that. Second week of the season, I was probably watching Alabama, Texas in the press box. I didn't see that. I don't remember the 23-yarder. I just, that one slipped my mind. But outside of that one, he's perfect from inside of 30. He's perfect from inside of 40. He's perfect from inside of 50. And he missed the 156-yarder at Ole Miss. So he's only missed 2 times all year, a chip shot and a scrimmage against Grambling, and then a 56-yarder against Ole Miss. That's rock solid. So between Bramlett punting, Dybert kicking off, and Ramos kicking, you've been really good in that area. And then you switch to the return game. Kickoff returns are becoming more and more rare. You've just got bigger, stronger kickoff guys. They're booming it through the end zone. That's encouraged by the rules committee, who doesn't want kickoff returns anyway. So, look, there aren't a ton of statistics to point to on kickoff returns. LSU is one of 3 teams in the conference that's got a 50-yard return. There are only 3 teams in the conference that have busted one on a kickoff return. And instead of going to statistics further than that, I would just suggest that we're watching the games. Caleb Jackson looks pretty good on kickoff return. I think he does a good job. I trust him. He's strong. He carries the ball with ball security, and he's got speed to hit it if there's a hole that opens up. I don't think it's worth going much deeper than that. I think anyone listening here, y'all are LSU fans, you're watching the games. Do you have a problem with Caleb Jackson returning kickoffs? I don't think anybody else does either. The punt return issue of this is really the one that is a bit of a bugaboo to me in a vacuum. You've only returned 3 punts all year, in 29 that have been punted to you. Now, some of those you're pinning inside the 5 and you're not going to catch, and some of those are shanks. You know, we had one of those. But, like, 3 returns out of 29 kicks, not great. They muffed one against Florida State. LSU's just, for 2 years now, been completely devoid of trying to make a play on punt returns. And in a vacuum, that really bums me out, because as you'll hear me say most August, like, I could go out to the practice field and point at 15 guys immediately that could be great punt returners. They're a dime a dozen at LSU. You've got so many elite athletes that play corner, that play wide receiver, that play running back, even sometimes that play safety like Chad Jones, that you should, in my estimation, have somebody back there that can change the game. That's in a vacuum because it's available to you. If we actually add some context to that statistic, with this offense, I'm okay with it. There have been 2 times in the history of the school since I've been watching that I'm okay with it. If the 2009 team wants to call a fair catch on their own 3-yard line, I'll live with it. If this team wants to call a fair catch on their own 15, I'll live with it. But the point being, we don't need an explosive play from the punt return team. There are plenty of times where LSU has needed it. How about the 2011 team? Think Tyron affected the Arkansas game? Think Tyron affected the Georgia game? How about Mo Claiborne on kickoff return against West Virginia? And you can go back. Odell Beckham punt return against Ole Miss. Trenton Holiday had him against Arkansas and against Ole Miss kickoff returns. Like, games that LSU they were back and forth, and LSU needed one of their great athletes, the one I could walk onto the practice field and point to 15 of them, to go back there and do something. Change this game. And there are plenty on this team, too. But one of them wears number 5, and they snap it to him, so let's just let it be, right? So in summation, I don't know how much credit Bob Diaco gets. I think a fair amount. I don't know how much blame you want to put on Brian Polian. I think a fair amount, even though there were some things I thought that were out of his control. But Brian Kelly saw a problem, immediately addressed it with the first guy he brought here, Brian Polian. We're addressing this. And he didn't let pride get in the way. They brought in a new coach, brought in a new voice. And I know there's been some other shakeups on the staff that you were going to have some other guys do these things. But this is the result through 8 weeks, and I don't have any complaints. I wish they didn't muff a punt against Florida State. I'd love it if that 56-yarder against Ole Miss went through the uprights. Man, it'd be sick if they had 3 punt return touchdowns now. But in totality, this unit has performed very well. And I think the fact that we don't talk about it at all is indicative of that. Good on you, LSU special teams. For more often than not, you just need to be dead level average at this, and you should have a really good offense. You should have a really good defense. You should be one of the most talented teams in the country year in and year out. Just don't need your special teams to throw up on themselves, muff kicks against Florida State in the Superdome, drop the opening kickoff against Tennessee, get an extra point blocked against Florida State. Like, don't do catastrophic things, and you should be in pretty good shape. And this team's doing a really nice job. So, hat tip to the LSU special teams, who we haven't really talked about at all here. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's. Rouse's Supermarkets, official grocer and supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. If you're watching LSU next weekend, or you're watching the Saints in Indianapolis this weekend, you want to have a watch party and go get your groceries, or you just need your groceries for the weekend, there's a Rouse's location near you that can make that so easy. All you got to do is download the Rouse's app, do your shopping on that app, let your personal shopper go handle it. You pull up, they come right out curbside, hand it to you. You can't get any easier than that over at Rouse's Markets. Appreciate them for bringing you our Thursday shows. When we come back, Luke Johnson on the Black and Gold. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday Night Football tonight. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game. Got the Bills and the Bucks, and you get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues eligible bonus method expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who has gaming problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal. a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
It's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Mike Triplett, Ryan Clark, our Fantasy Blitz. Join us for Thursday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here on this Thursday. Every Thursday, we head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline, chat with our guy, Luke Johnson, who kind of had the weekend off last weekend. Was that enjoyable, sir?
Yes. No, it was great, man. My dad came down from Wisconsin to meet my daughter for the first time. It was really nice, just kind of not thinking about the Saints football team for a couple days, and now we're back at it. We're ready to go. I'm ready to bring some heat today, man.
Oh, boy, heat. Well, last week, before the loss to the Jaguars, said, how are the vibes? You said they were terrible. I can't imagine they're a lot better today.
No, they're not. I think, look, I don't think this team is at a point where they're kind of coming apart at the seams yet. I think they have some really good leadership on this team. But look, there's no denying that this has been an incredibly frustrating season for everybody involved. It's frustrating for the defense, knowing they've got to be just like on their absolute A game every day. It's frustrating for this offense because you just see all this talent, you wonder why it doesn't work. I think the body language for a lot of those guys has been pretty bad, like noticeably bad. So I mean, they've got to have these leaders get this thing back on track, because this has the potential to just go downhill. Especially just considering these are teams they should be beating if they are as good as they think they are. And if they are not able to get this thing done, I just don't like where it's at.
You mentioned the body language, and certainly that's been evident to all of us. Does that spill over into the interview room, into practices that y'all see, or is it just something that, hey, in the heat of the moment, some guys get a little heated?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think for the most part, the players have kind of left their frustrations on the field, like they haven't boiled over and been really demonstrative or anything in the locker room or anything like that. I mean, we've seen Alvin Kamara and some others just after these games, like in the immediate aftermath of these games, call people out. Not by name, but say like, hey, you need to get your stuff together. You need to be on your P's and Q's and be prepared for these games, because if you're not, like, this is the result. But I think as they kind of get further away from the games, they're all saying the right things. Derek Carr was out there yesterday, talked to us for almost 20 minutes, and he fielded a lot of questions about, like, hey, are you, as the $150 million face of the franchise, supposed to be on national TV yelling at the receivers? I think he had all the right things to say about it. I think you could probably maybe disagree on whether he was being fully honest with everybody, but he said the right things. So at least publicly facing, they're saying they're optimistic and they're confident about where this is going to go. We're not seeing it all this kind of bad vibes spill over into people calling each other out in the media.
Does anyone care that Chris Olave is speeding in Kenner?
I mean, I think they care in the sense that, like, look, they've got a lot invested in the guy, and they believe, he's one of their best players, and he can't be doing reckless, dumb stuff. I mean, look, I think Chris Olave is a really smart person. I think he's a good person. I don't think this makes him a bad person, but you can't be driving 70 in a 35 in a residential area. Like, that is stupid behavior. And this isn't the first time he's been cited for speeding. I mean, 2 months ago, he got a 54 in a 35. So, he needs to be smarter. And the team is telling him that he needs to be smarter. And you don't have to go back very far to see somebody's career be derailed and somebody's life be ended because they were acting a fool behind the wheel. Henry Ruggs, a first-round draft pick, bright future. He's going 115 miles an hour or whatever it was, and he killed somebody. You can't be doing that, no matter whether you're Chris Olave making however much money he's making a year, or you and me. It's behavior that's not really acceptable. But I think they are confident that he's going to be able to kind of put this behind him. But look, 23-year-olds are going to do stupid stuff every now and then. It's just you would hope the stupid stuff is not putting himself or somebody else in danger.
That's the exact word I used when I saw it. I saw the arrest. I said, that's stupid, but thankfully it's over and nobody was hurt. And you hope that there's a little bit of a learning curve there for a young player. All right, did they find anything on offense in the fourth quarter against Jacksonville, or was that a deal where Jacksonville had a lead and they were kind of playing soft?
I think they did find something. They were kind of forced to go into hurry up there, and I think they found something that worked for them. Like, they were on the attack. They were pressing Jacksonville. They weren't doing all the personnel groupings and allowing the Jaguars to kind of sub people in and out. They weren't going slow, and I think obviously you can't do that for 60 minutes in a football game, but I think you can incorporate that into the first, second, third quarter. You don't have to wait until you're down by 15 points to get things going. I think there's something they can take from that, but it's just this is kind of the story of the season. It's can they actually, for once, just consistently put something together? Because it's just every time it looks like they do something good, they come out the next week and they're flat for 3 quarters, and you're just like, well, is this ever going to happen? I mean, I'm not optimistic. The team's optimistic, but it's like I've been waiting half a season for this offense to show a sign of life, and it's just like little heartbeats, and every now and then it's nothing really major.
So I look at yesterday's practice report, and from the injury standpoint, Ryan Ramczyk was a limited participant, so he was back. James Hurst did not practice yesterday. So what do we think the offensive line kind of looks like on Sunday?
If I were to guess, I would imagine Ryan Ramczyk's going to be back out there. Now, this is like a concussion, so you never really know with this.
Yeah.
I've seen guys practice all week coming off a concussion, and then they don't play in the game. So I feel like there's a good chance he's going to be out there, which is obviously huge. I think Cam Irving played a nice game, but there's a big gap between him and Ryan Ramczyk as a right tackle. Left tackle, I don't think James Hurst is going to play this week. So I would fully expect to see Andres Pete back out there, making his second start at left tackle since 2018. I mean, we'll see how that goes. He didn't give up a sack this week, going up against a really, really good pass rusher in Josh Allen, but did give up a lot of pressures, and I think they were able to kind of scheme some stuff to help him out. I don't know if that holds up over multiple games. We'll have to see. That's a tough spot for him to be in.
This is Monday morning quarterback just to a T here, but I sit here and I think about all I heard about with Jimmy Graham in August about his size and ability in the red zone, and then what I've seen from Taysom Hill over the last half decade and his effectiveness running the ball, especially in the red zone. Should we expect to see those two guys at the point of the field where the Saints have been the worst over the last few weeks?
Well, I mean, I would have expected to see Jimmy Graham there all season.
Yeah.
It's like the whole reason they brought him in. I don't think they cared about what he did from in between the 20s. I think it was all like, hey, this guy has caught 1 billion touchdowns in his career, and he might be 38 years old or however old he is, but he's still 6'6". That's like felt like the whole reason they brought him in, and he's gotten 1 red zone target so far this year. It was a touchdown, and that's it. With Taysom Hill, I mean, like, I was just having this conversation with somebody else the other day. It's like, how is it that, like, you have this guy whose, like, skill is built for that area of the field, and you are a terrible red zone offense, and he, like, just doesn't touch the ball down there. unless he's like in a route, which is the worst part of his skill set. So I just, I don't really I would expect it because it seems obvious. It just hasn't played out. They have been like much more willing to run these goal line fades with a low percentage throw than just like let Taysom Hill run the ball. And look, they had one red zone touchdown last week, and it was Taysom Hill.
I know. It's the one of the last things on the number of sports that I cover. One of the last things I critique is football X's and O's. I'm far more adept at criticizing pitching changes or late shot clock situations on a basketball court. Like, I don't do a lot of criticizing football coaches because I've never been anywhere near that world. But like, this just seems like Pete Carmichael's doing a bad job. I don't know another way to say it. It just, everything I see looks bad.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. Like, when the offense is underperforming for 2 years under one guy as play caller, like, he deserves a huge brunt of the criticism. And I think you can see it manifest itself down in the red zone when it's a gotta have it play, games on the line, fourth down, and they're the quarterback's throwing off his back foot on a low percentage throw. Why are you calling that in that situation? I don't understand it. But I also think that this is not all on Pete Carmichael. I think the players have had a lot to do with this. Just not performing up to their level, not executing things. I mean, you see things that are wide open all the time.
Yeah.
With this Saints team, scheme isn't that bad. You guys have to execute it at some point.
That is true. Sunday would be a nice time to start. The Colts defense statistically is bottom third of the NFL. When you look at this matchup against the Colts defense, what do you see for the Saints?
Well, look, if the Cleveland Browns, who have not been a very good offensive team this year, are going in there with their backup quarterback and putting up 39 points against this team, like, Saints have to be able to move the ball, right? I mean, it is imperative for them to get it done this week. Because I think actually the Colts have a pretty good offense, especially as a rushing attack. They gashed the Browns, who are awesome on defense. Tennessee went into that game having not given up 80 yards on the ground all season, and they put up like 190 against them on the ground. Like, they're a good offense. They're going to score some points against the Saints team. So, like, yes, they're vulnerable, especially on the back end. We'll just see if the Saints are actually able to take advantage of this, because this is like, it's really hard to be optimistic about this offense. Like, they've shown almost nothing this year that would give you any hope that like, yeah, it's right around the corner. As much as they say, like, hey, we see the plays, they're there, we can make it. If we make these plays, it's a completely different story. It's like, okay, you can say that, but like, until you start to show it, I'm not going to believe it.
I would tend to agree with you. Enjoy Indy, sir. We'll do it next week.
Sounds good, man.
That is Luke Johnson with The Advocate, Saints beat writer. I'm serious about that. Like, you just heard me say that I spent a lot of last year defending some of, not all, some of what the LSU special teams was doing with Brian Polian, because I thought it was the players that were just doing awful things. And Luke watches the tape every single week and says there are guys open, so it's not all on Pete Carmichael. But I look at just some of the stuff that just seems so easy, and like, to me, it just seems like a simple thing that instead of chucking up a goal line fade to 6'1" Chris Olave, who's a great athlete, like, you got the 6'6" guy that you kept when you decided you were going to keep 4 tight ends. You want to count Juwan Johnson, and then obviously Graham and Taysom and Foster. Like, you said you're going to keep 4 tight ends. Like, how about the 6'6" guy? And then Luke brings a stat that goes, he's had 1 red zone target this year, and he scored. Taysom Hill has been running the ball in the red zone for years, and now it's not there, and we're throwing a bunch of fades. That just looks awful to me. But they've had a little bit of a mini bye here, and they head up to Indy, and we'll see if they can get something done up there against the Colts team that does run the ball well, but does not have a very good defense. So we shall see. Yesterday, I saw basically the most pointed quote I've seen in a year and a half. I'll tell you who said it and what it was next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. As we tell you every day, they're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. The whole goal of this Champions of Louisiana program is to highlight great people, great businesses, great nonprofit organizations doing great things in our state. And Marucci Sports, certainly one of those. They help us in terms of tourism, with thousands coming to the Marucci World Series every single year in Baton Rouge in the late summer. They have brought talent here to work in their baseball performance labs. It's not just a company that saws a bunch of bats and ships them up to the White Sox and the Dodgers. Nope, far from it. They are a shining star in our state. That's why LWCC calls them a champion of Louisiana. If you know of a champion of Louisiana and want us to tell their story, we can do it. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana, and we'll tell you about them right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online.
Our Tigers don't play this weekend. We're still going to bring you some football this Saturday. It's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, where the Florida Gators will take on the Georgia Bulldogs at 2:30. To hear that game, tune in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
My picks for the SEC football games against the spread coming up at the top of hour number 2. Hope y'all's Thursday is going well. We are working towards the bye weekend here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Our Thursday shows brought to you by Rouse's. Basketball season is rapidly approaching. Tonight, the Lady Tigers will play an exhibition against East Texas Baptist University. I'm actually very familiar with ETBU. A couple of the girls in my high school, we had a great team, ended up going there to play, and they'll take on the Lady Tigers in an exhibition in the PMAC tonight, and the men will be in action on Monday in exhibition. Matt McMahon met with the media yesterday, and he gave a quote yesterday unlike any quote I have heard him really give over the last year and change as the head coach at LSU basketball. And it was in regards to handling the adversity that was last year, understanding where they are as a program and where they want to go, and understanding kind of where LSU's basketball program sits today in this new era of transfer portal and high school recruiting and what that may look like in all the SEC. And I thought this was just an incredibly pointed soundbite that I'm going to have some comments on, but this is Matt McMahon on the big picture here.
The reality, there are a lot of them there. Number one, didn't win at the level that I expect to win at, nor at the level our fans deserve a year ago. Probably the second reality is Coach Wade did a good job here at LSU. They won a lot of games during his time. Reality three, when I got here in April, all of that was gone. No players, no foundation, no culture, no nothing. So it was essentially a little bit of a dumpster fire, and we have to go about a methodical process of rebuilding it. The other reality is, there was an NCAA investigation hanging over the program that was a black cloud and made it very challenging to start a program over from scratch. That's now complete, and that's over. And so the perspective is, I love the direction we're going. We're going to recruit at a high level. We're going to build an army of people that are going to support LSU basketball as we rebuild the program moving forward.
I loved that clip. I don't know. I don't remember him mentioning Will Wade ever in an interview. And he did yesterday. And I don't have any qualms with anything he just said there. He said, we did not win at the level that I expect to last year, and that's undeniable. They were the worst team in the SEC last year, I think. And Will Wade did do a good job here at LSU. He won a lot of games. He got people caring about basketball. LSU was a perennial NCAA tournament team that challenged for and did win the SEC. Like, you all know this. But he's not wrong when he says that winning culture was gone when he got here. Okay? So the goal is to dig out of it. And he's not Will Wade. He's never going to be Will Wade. Matt McMahon is not going to jump up and down and slam water bottles on the ground and yell and scream. That's just not who he's going to be. You know who else doesn't yell and scream and throw stuff everywhere? Jay Johnson. You know who else has been about the most mellow guy I've ever seen since he got on campus? Is Brian Kelly. You don't have to do it one exact way. And there are so many people who I think through a combination of being happy with the winning that Will Wade was doing, disappointed with the way that LSU's administration handled the end of that, and then they take into account the fact that Matt McMahon doesn't look anything like Will Wade, and they were the worst team in the league last year, and they've taken that bundle of information and said, this guy sucks. I think there are a lot of people who fall into that line of thinking. We had a coach. I liked him. He was doing what everybody else was doing. The administration chickened out on the NCAA, fired him. They screwed the whole thing up, and then they hired a guy from Murray State, and we look up and we're the worst team in the league. Like, that's what they think. And I'm not telling you that Matt McMahon's going to be awesome. He might finish last of the SEC his entire tenure here. I don't know. But I'm not going to hold Will Wade against him, his demeanor as opposed to Will Wade against him, or the way the athletic administration handled LSU basketball against him. I'm going to look at Matt McMahon's body of work. Last year, he had no chance to assemble a reasonable roster, in my opinion. They were bad, as I expected them to be. And I thought there were some things that I didn't like on the court, and there were some things that I did like on the court. But I'm wiping it clean. And this year, I don't expect awesome things from the LSU basketball team. I'd love to be wrong. Nobody expected squat from Missouri last year. They were really fun and good. They shot a bunch of threes. They won a lot of games. They made the tournament. Nobody expected anything from Mississippi State last year. They had a couple of nice non-conference wins, got into league play, sniffed 500, and got to Dayton. So it can be done. I'm not suggesting it's impossible. But in my evaluation, mine personally, of the LSU basketball program, I'm looking around and just trying to see where I think things are headed. I thought this transfer portal class, highly rated, skilled offensively. Is it top half of the SEC good to me? No. But I look at some of the recruiting Matt McMahon's doing, and I kind of think that is encouraging. And I think that there's reason to believe that this could be a guy who's getting his feet on the ground and starting to create some positive momentum. We'll see. McMahon was asked what he wants out of this team this year in year 2.
I want us to play with relentless effort, bring great energy, and I think especially when you're trying to blend a lot of guys who maybe have been the leading scorer or second leading scorer on their team, you have to play with great unselfishness. So I think that has to be the foundation. Those things enable you to build chemistry, and then once you have that foundation in place, then you can really get to the strategy and the schemes and what's going to be best for us from an offensive and defensive standpoint to give us opportunity to win games.
Relentless effort is an absolute non-negotiable because you've got some guys on this team that are young, that are going to be here for a couple of years. I'm not just talking about freshmen you brought in or just Tyrell Ward and Jalen Reed who are sophomores. I'm talking about, Carlos Stewart's a young player. Like there are transfers they brought in that are not old. So, you could have Stewart back next year. Jalen Cook could be back next year. You're not going to have Jordan Wright back. You're not going to have Will Baker back. But you've got some guys that need to be part of the next team that need to create a culture of winning and working really hard. That's a non-negotiable. Wins and losses, we'll see how they come. But McMahon talked about kind of the talent and how they're going to create this team.
Just having an older group of experienced players. I believe it's somewhere 7 or 8 of our guys are in their 4th or 5th year playing college basketball. We tried to be very intentional in doing that. We obviously hope that leads to some outstanding player leadership from some guys who have proven themselves at a high level. They're multiple all-conference players, multiple 1,000 plus point scorers, and now we need to take this collection of talented people and build them into a team.
Those older guys he's talking about, as I just mentioned, Mwani's a senior, Jordan Wright's a grad student, Will Baker's a grad student, Hunter Dean, who's going to be a depth piece in the front court, is a grad student. So Derek Fountain is a senior. You do have a lot of older guys. Trey Hannibal is a 5th-year senior as well. There are a number of older guys, and so you've got a blend there. There is some youth, there is some experience, and there is some talent. There's a lot of offensive talent. This is something that's been really the main talking point with LSU basketball. And we haven't talked a lot of LSU basketball, but this is the reality of the situation. Is that the guy who was really supposed to make this entire thing go from an offensive perspective and a ball handling perspective is Jalen Cook. You know that. He spent time here. He's been at Tulane, and you understand that they haven't made a ruling on his eligibility yet. And Matt McMahon talked about what they're doing to handle that situation while it's still in flux.
I think it involves 2 different styles of play in some ways, especially on the offensive end of the floor, where Jalen at the point guard position is a heavy ball screen usage player who's been really effective there, scoring the ball and also from an assist standpoint over his career, whereas some of our other guards flourish more in dribble handoff situations or stagger screens and things of that nature. So that has caused us to need to keep a balance of doing both, depending on how that situation plays out.
That's going to be, I don't want to be hyperbolic. If he's ruled ineligible, and I have my sincere doubts whether or not he's going to be eligible, that's going to be worth to me like 2 or 3 SEC games. I'm being realistic here. He's the only really true point guard on your team. Trey Hannibal's not a point guard. He has no threat from the outside, and he hasn't been a great passer, although he did pass the ball well in the summer in their Bahamas games. Carlos Stewart's been a scoring guard his entire life and was that out west. He would probably have to run some point for you as well. Jordan Wright is 6'6", 230. He's not exactly a prototypical point guard. He can handle the ball a little bit. He will turn it over, but you can count on him to calm things down and not make a panic play. So it's a big deal. Like Tyrell Ward's not a point guard. So he was the one guy that you could count on to run the point. I don't think he's going to be eligible. I've said that before times. There's too much evidence nationally about this kind of stuff that I have my doubts. So again, we're going to talk about basketball. We'll leave it for the rest of the show and for the rest of this week. And certainly we're not going to talk a ton of basketball next week with Alabama on the horizon. But I loved that first quote from Matt McMahon, and I hope that LSU fans have an open mind and pull for the guy and try to get behind the program, buy some tickets, go see him play K-State at home, and let's see if Matt McMahon can't bring this thing up from kind of life support. I don't know if it was dead because it's going to come right on back, but it was certainly on life support when he got here. I'm pulling for the guy, and hope that the rest of you are as well. We'll take a timeout when we come back. Best win and worst loss on the board. And Beck wanted me to get to Week 9 in Survivor. Got a chance to do it. One more pick. It's on Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. They have financing available at One Bath and Closets. If you're looking at things and you go, man, I would love a new tub to shower. I would love a new bathroom renovation. I would love a brand new closet customized to what I need. Just don't know about paying for that right now up front. Well, they've got financing options. You just got to get that free consultation and ask David Duvall what he and One Bath and Closets can do for you. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Click up top at that free testimonial. You'll get testimonials and their great work. The consultation is free, not the testimonial. If you get that consultation, David Duvall and his team will come in. They'll tell you what they can do for you. They'll tell you when they can have it finished by. And I can promise you this, they won't cut any corners. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Christmas is coming up. The holidays are coming up. You're looking for a gift, how about a brand new bathroom? David Duvall and his team would love to help you with that. So head over to the website. It's onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs.
Join us for a Football Friday on Off the Bench as we continue to preview LSU versus Alabama, as well as the rest of the football weekend, including Saints versus Colts, Plus our weekly pontoon parlay, Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, best win, worst loss. We'll get to it. In college football, as I look at the top 25, I think the best win on the board would be a team that had very little preseason expectation. A win-loss total about 5.5. They got an early win that a lot didn't expect them to get. That was against Tennessee. And if Billy Napier wants to take that bye week, head to Jacksonville and beat the number one team in the country with the recruiting class that he's putting together, which is in the top 5 right now, I think that would be a huge win for Florida's football program. So I think the best win on the board would be Florida beating Georgia in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Worst loss to me, just feels a little sneaky. And the rest of the conference stinks, so you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. Florida State could really do itself a lot of harm if they went to Wake Forest. Sleepy old Wake, as we learned in Omaha, the smallest D1 school, and lost. So I'll take the worst loss on the board, Jordan Travis and Florida State, going up and losing to a very mediocre Sam Hartman-less Wake Forest team. Best win on the board for me, look, you look at the schedule for the Cincinnati Bengals, and you're going through, I would say, before the season started, you would think the toughest game on their schedule is at San Francisco. Now, Brock Purdy, probably not going to play. Concussion protocol, we don't think he's going to be out there. You're going to get Sam Darnold, very likely. It changes the dynamic a little bit, but it's still at San Francisco on your 17-game schedule. Still a great defense, an offense loaded with playmakers, although Deebo Samuel probably not going to play. So you've got an opportunity to turn what's far better than a 50% proposition in August into a win. I think the Bengals going to the Bay and beating San Francisco would be the best win on the board. Worst loss is in the same division. The Ravens have been really good all year. Arizona has lost a bunch of close games. They are not good. So I would say the Ravens losing in Arizona would be the worst loss on the NFL board. So best wins, Florida over Georgia and the Bengals over San Francisco. Worst loss on the board would be Florida State at Wake or the Ravens losing to Arizona. All right, let's get to the Survivor. Beck said he would be impressed if I could get to week 9 as of August. Well, if we look up, and in week 1, I go out there and I take the Ravens. That's a winner. I took the Bills in week 2. That's a winner. The Chiefs in week 3. I'm going towards the top of the league here. Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, 49ers. I got the Lions in week 5, the Dolphins in week 6. Took Seattle in week 7. So I've really peppered the best of the best in the NFL. As I look at the slate this weekend, you see the Cowboys are hosting the Rams. I considered that one. You got the Packers at home against the Vikings. I don't like either one of those teams. Titans, Falcons, no thanks. Colts, Saints, I don't think so. I've already taken the Dolphins, who are hosting New England. Can't do that. The Giants and Jets, I don't think so. Jags and Steelers. Steelers at home, I just don't feel great about that. Jacksonville has been pretty good. I settled on a road team, which is rare, and the team they're playing is not awful. But I have not used the Philadelphia Eagles yet, and I feel like this is an opportunity to do so. I'm going to take them in Washington. I don't want to take the Texans at Carolina. I don't think that's a good play. Browns and Seahawks. I took the Seahawks last week, so I'm not taking the Browns. I can't take the Chiefs. They're in Denver. I can't take the Ravens. They're in Arizona. I'm not taking Bengals 49ers. Thought about the Chargers. Sunday Night Football. They're at home against the Bears with Badgett at quarterback. I thought about that one, but I'm just going to go with one of the best teams in the NFL. They're on the road. They're in Washington. How do we feel about that play? Is that going to get me home?
See, this is why I scientifically chose Week 9 as the last week
is that right?
you would reach it, because now you're in slim pickings here. However,
Yeah.
I do think the Eagles will probably beat the Commanders. They're 7-point favorites on the road.
7 or 6.5, depending on where you shop. Hurts has been a little inconsistent. He's thrown some picks.
They
Hasn't been
dominated
awesome.
the Dolphins last week.
They did, which I enjoyed. I've got some Eagles on the fantasy squad. These two teams played in Philly 3-4 weeks ago, and the Eagles beat them by 3. So I don't feel great about it. The Eagles, the Commanders' defensive front is tough, and look, they're they're functional. I'm just going to count on one of the best teams in the league going on the road in division and getting it done. So we'll see if I can get that one home. That would get me to week 9. I'm going to keep going as long as I can go. We'll see. But week 9 was kind of the goal, and I feel like we've got a chance to get there with the Eagles in week 8. That's going to do it for hour number 1 here on this Thursday. Our show is brought to you by Rouse's. I will be at Rouse's in an hour and about 10 minutes. So come on by if you're doing your weekend grocery shopping. Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee. I'll have gift cards. I'll have cups and hats and shirts, and we can just talk. It's fun. We hang out in the parking lot there. Always an enjoyable time. Maybe if you can't come by and see me, get by Rouse's for your weekend groceries. It's going to be gumbo weather coming up on Tuesday. The high is 55. Go ahead, look at our new little panels here. It says Trinity on there. It just makes me think about gumbo just looking at it. Rouse's brings you our Thursday shows. We'll come back after SportsCenter, and when we do, I'll get you my SEC picks against the number. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson says he doesn't know when he'll be able to play again. Watson re-injured his right rotator cuff strain against the Colts and won't play Sunday against the Seahawks. P.J. Walker gets the start. Spurs rookie Victor Wembanyama blocked a Kyrie Irving shot on his first defensive possession in the NBA. That was his only block of the game. He had 15 points and 5 rebounds for Spurs head coach Greg Popovich.
He's learning something, every practice, every game he's going to learn. But I love his energy, his defensive energy. Offensively, he's learning how to, control the group out there. So it'll take a little bit of time to gel them together, but I was really pleased with them overall.
Greg Popovich after game 1 for the rookie Wembanyama. One more season opener tonight as the Bucks host the 76ers. No James Harden for Philadelphia. He'll miss at least the first 2 games after taking some time away from the team. Bradley Beal and Devin Booker both out for the Suns tonight against the Lakers.
Home, auto, prized sports memorabilia. Whatever you need to protect, Geico can help get you covered. And with the award-winning Geico mobile app, you can get 24/7 claim support and on-the-go policy access. It's easy to Geico. Go to geico.com today.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
All right, turning the page to hour number 2 out in the open field. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. I made the mistake in the first hour saying coming to you live Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio because there is no guarantee that you are listening to this live. There are a lot of different options and ways to listen to this that are nowhere near live. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. A lot of ways that aren't live. So my apologies for being factually incorrect for some of you at least that aren't listening live. But I am coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. That is true. Chris Blair with us in 15 minutes, and we'll chat with him about all things LSU. I do this every Friday, go through some of the lines, all the lines that are available in the SEC, and I'm not going to be here tomorrow, so we're going to do it now. I am 31-30 on the year, entering this week. That is just a tick above 500. We're trying to make sure we finish above 500 for the year. That is the goal. So how many games do we have this week? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games this week that we're going to go through. Want to have a winning week. We're going to try to inch this thing forward little by little and finish the season above 500. So let's dive into it chronologically. We'll start at 11 o'clock tomorrow. No, that's not tomorrow. Usually on Fridays it's tomorrow. 11 o'clock on Saturday on ESPN. Game day will lead into this one from Kyle Field in College Station, South Carolina, headed to Texas A&M. It is a 14-point line. A&M is favored. Y'all know this if you listen fairly regularly. On Mondays, I talk about the weekend that was. On Wednesdays, I do my power rankings. On Thursdays, I do my lines. I think South Carolina is atrocious. I think they are terrible. However, this is bordering on must-win for Jimbo. It's not, literally. I don't think they're going to fire him Monday if they lose. But you realize they're going to Oxford in a couple of weeks. You realize they're going to Baton Rouge in a month. And if you lose this one and you can't win on the road, which you hadn't done in over 2 years, you're going to go 7-5. So it's a huge one for Jimbo Fisher and company. The only thing South Carolina can do, the only thing, is throw the football. They're 14th in the league in total defense. They're 12th in the league in sacks allowed. They're 13th in the league in run offense. They're not good on either side of the ball. All they can do is sit back with Spencer Rattler and chuck it. And two of the teams that have beaten A&M, not Tennessee, but two of the teams that have beaten A&M had big days passing. Jalen Milroe and Tyler Van Dyke from Alabama and Miami had big days. They were 42 of 66 combined. That's 69%. They completed 695 yards worth of throws, so you're pushing 350 yards a game, 8 touchdowns and 1 pick. That is where A&M is susceptible. It's the only thing that South Carolina can do. Now, as I mentioned, South Carolina is 14th in the SEC in total defense. Every Power 5 opponent South Carolina has played except Georgia has scored 30-plus. That includes Mississippi State, who put 30 on them. If A&M can't go out there on their home field against that team and roll up 420 yards and 30 points, that is a huge indictment on the Aggies. I think it's a big number. 14 sounds huge, but A&M's got a really good front. They can get after the quarterback. They can get after Spencer Rattler. I'm going to lay the 14 here with Texas A&M. This is not an A&M play for me. This is a South Carolina play. I realize I get caught up in A&M and I pick them to win games they don't win, and I always think they're going to be better than they are. This has nothing to do with that. I've seen enough from South Carolina. They're terrible. So I'm going with A&M minus 14. At 2:30, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, Georgia and Florida. This is another 2-touchdown number. It's actually 14.5, where Georgia is obviously favored. Graham Mertz has been great the last 2 weeks against Vanderbilt and South Carolina, throwing for 400-plus yards in each game. Like, he's slinging it around. That's new because we thought that Florida would just be a run-the-football team with Etienne and Johnson, and that would be what they do. Graham Mertz certainly came from Wisconsin, where that's what they want to do. So the question is, have they found something offensively, or is this just beating up on some really poor teams? Incidentally, the last time Georgia lost an SEC regular season game was this game in 2020. It has been 23 straight that Georgia has won in the regular season against the Southeastern Conference. Auburn and South Carolina kind of held Georgia's offense in relative check. Can Florida do that? Florida's number 5 in the SEC in total defense. They're number 7 in run defense, number 4 in scoring defense. What's weird to me when you flip the ball and you look at Georgia's defense is that Georgia's 12th in the SEC in tackles for loss and 13th in sacks. Now, Kirby Smart was asked about this last week entering the bye, and he said, yeah, we don't even look at sack numbers. We don't ever do it. We have a havoc rate stat. When we get in there and disrupt plays, make a guy throw it away, or he makes a bad decision or throws it a little bit early and we don't get a sack, that's all we care about. Sack numbers, I don't even know what they are. And that's fine. That's perfectly fair. But you would think that Georgia, who forces teams to throw a lot because they're ahead a lot and just has great defensive front play in general, would be better than 12th in TFLs and 13th in sacks. I still kind of lead towards this theory, and it paid me well 2 weeks ago. I use paid in air quotes because I don't ever bet on these games. But I thought that Georgia would wallop Kentucky because I thought that Kentucky was going to get Georgia's full attention. And I feel like coming off a bye, split crowd, great environment, 2:30 CBS kick, that Florida's going to get Georgia's full attention. And so I'm going to lay the 14.5, even though no Brock Bowers. Statistics kind of say Florida should be able to hang in. I'm just not ready to buy into it. I think they beat up on a couple of really bad teams, and I'll take a motivated, focused, rested Georgia team, and I'll lay the 14.5 points. So I've already laid 28.5 through 2 games. Mississippi State is at Auburn. It's a 6.5 point number. Auburn favored in this one. These two teams are combined 1-7 in SEC games. Mississippi State in total offense, number 11 in a 14-team SEC. Auburn is number 13. So 2 of the bottom 4 teams in the SEC in total offense. And scoring offense, Mississippi State's 11th. Auburn is 12th. They're the worst 2 third-down offenses in the league. This is bad offensive football, one by a new staff that's trying to bring in an entirely new culture and system. The other in Mississippi State, in a new offensive coordinator, but a veteran quarterback who didn't play last week in their first SEC win. So you're looking at Mike Wright and Will Rogers for Mississippi State at quarterback, Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford for Auburn at quarterback. We got 4 guys that could play. Look, as I look at this schedule, Auburn's been terrible. They've lost 4 games in a row in the SEC, but could you see them winning 4 in a row here? They got Mississippi State at home. They're at Vanderbilt. They're at Arkansas, and then they play New Mexico State. if Hugh Freeze's team wins 4 straight before the Iron Bowl, like, they could feel pretty good about the body of work that they've had. I'm counting in this one on the Jordan-Hare crowd, which is usually awesome. I'm fading Mississippi State after a win in which they scored 7 points. Give me Auburn. I will lay the 6.5 on the Plains in that one. 6 o'clock, night game, ESPN, Tennessee at Kentucky. The Vols are a 4-point favorite in this one. Kentucky has won this game 3 times since 1985. 3 times since 1985. Not great. Kentucky, after a nice start against terrible teams, has given up 89 points in their last 2 games. They still have the number 2 run defense in the conference, and Tennessee's the number 1 running offense, so that's kind of where the rubber meets the road in this one. The one thing that concerns me about Tennessee is that they're the number 14 red zone touchdown percentage offense in the SEC. They are literally the worst team in the SEC at getting in the end zone when they get down there. Tennessee got manhandled in the second half by Alabama after a really nice start. I don't trust Milton a ton. Kentucky's been bad. They've been really bad. But this is their last chance to salvage the fan base before they go to Rupp. Lose this game. You've given up 90 points in your last 2. They're going to lose interest. Tennessee's defense has been pretty good. Kentucky's going to try to run it on them. I'm a home team catching 4 points here. I'll take them. I think Tennessee very well may win this game, but I will take the 4 points kindly. And the last one, Vanderbilt at Ole Miss. Love this game as I fight for an SEC Western Division title, and I'm stuck with Florida, and they go play have Vanderbilt come to them. Not wild about that one, Mr. Slive. I believe that was you. Maybe it was Mr. Kramer. I think it was Mr. Kramer who made that one happen. But here we are. Vanderbilt's at Ole Miss. 24.5 is the number. So Ole Miss has Texas A&M next week, and they're at Georgia the next week. Could they be in a bit of a sleepy spot here against Vanderbilt? Lane Kiffin's already taken to Twitter. He's tweeting out pictures of the stadium saying, please come, 6:30 game, we're playing Vandy. Like, he's begging people to come to Vaught Hemingway to watch him play Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, incidentally, number 14 in the SEC. That would be dead last in wins, as you will well know. Run offense, run defense, scoring defense, opponent big play runs, opponent third down conversions, fumbles lost. They're dead last in all these categories I'm rattling off. They're atrocious. My biggest concern with Vanderbilt here is they have the worst run defense in the conference, and they're worst against 20-yard runs and plus in the conference. I start to do the math here, and I go, well, how many is Ole Miss going to score? Vanderbilt can't stop the run, and we know Kiffin's going to go fast. He's going to run tempo. He's going to run the ball. Judkin's going to get involved. They'll get Bentley involved. They'll get Dart involved in the run game. Like, that's what they want to do. So how many do I think Ole Miss scores in the game? And I stumble somewhere around 40 to 44 points. That means they've got to hold Vanderbilt to 17 or so. I kind of like my odds there. I just think nothing of Vanderbilt's football team or program at this point. So I'm going to lay the 24.5. I am gobbling points by the truckload this week and hoping that it pays off. I'm laying 14 with A&M, laying 14.5 with Georgia, laying 24.5 with Ole Miss, laying 6.5 with Auburn, and I will take the points at Kroger Field for Kentucky and Tennessee. I'm getting 4 with the Cats there. 31-30 entering this week. We'll see how those picks play out. We'll come back with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Jump into the NBA action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass, courtesy of FanDuel, when they place a $5 bet on the NBA. That way you can watch all the action as you bet on everything from point spreads to player props, and best of all, you get paid your winnings instantly. So don't miss your chance to get $200 in bonus bets for 3 months of NBA League Pass. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and tip the NBA season off right. FanDuel, official partner of the NBA. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. New customer offer. First online real money wager only. Refund issues no withdrawal bonus bet that expires 7 days. All customer offer. $5 NBA wager required. Limit 1 pass per league customer across both offers. Restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See full terms for both offers at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you're someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NBA League Pass. Local blackout restrictions apply.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to Six
Charles Handgrove. Join us for Lock of the Week Friday from Ruffino's, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments. We get started at 10 a.m., 3 full hours of football, getting you ready for the weekend. Live at lunch, 10 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. That's where we find our guy, the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Chris, you got a weekend off. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, I guess I'll watch some football, be a football fan. Starting tonight, doing a little scouting with Georgia State, going to Statesboro to take on Georgia Southern, a big Sun Belt matchup, and so my football weekend going to start tonight.
Is that a rivalry? A big one?
Yeah, it is. Just simply, it's a recent rivalry. I mean, Georgia State's only been playing football for a little over a decade, so Georgia Southern always looked them as Johnny come lately.
Mm-hmm.
But here of late, the Panthers have gotten a handful of wins. So I think it's a battle tonight. Don't quote me on this. I think for second place in the East in the Sun Belt behind James Madison. So, yeah, it'll be a pretty big game.
Interesting. I might have to get some eyes on that this evening. My work week's over after this show's done, and I go to Rouse's for a couple of hours because I am headed to play some golf this next couple of days, which I'm very, very excited about. Let's go back before we go forward here, Chris. 18 points allowed against Auburn and a shutout against Army. Reason for optimism?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think because the eye test tells you we're playing better defensively. Again, neither Army or Auburn are juggernauts when it comes to offense, but still, I think you saw some of the things you weren't seeing early on in the season, especially, on the road at Ole Miss, and that is, getting some pressure up front, causing some havoc in the offensive backfield, putting pressure on quarterbacks, which lead to quick passes, late passes, errant passes. And then I think you're seeing, the secondary compete for the football when it goes up in the air. So all of those things to me look better. Again, you're not taking on, an offense like Ole Miss. You're not taking on a quarterback like Brady Cook. And I don't know how that prepares you against Jalen Milroe coming up against Alabama. But again, I just think some of the fundamental parts of this defense look a lot better. And if you can continue to improve like we've seen since the second half in the Missouri game, I think you got to feel pretty good about it.
And is there something to be said for just the guys playing with a little more confidence, probably feel a little bit better about themselves than they did at halftime of the Missouri game after Oxford in that first half?
Yeah, you remember I told you a couple of weeks ago, typically analytics would tell you that interception at the end of the game, you just go down and take a knee and call it a day. But I just felt like in that particular moment for this particular defense, having him roll it back for a pick six and celebrating something defensively, and more importantly, walking off the field, as I told you, feeling like, hey, you know what? Special teams, offense, and defense in the second half contributed to this 10-point win, I thought was a good thing. So I think there is something to be said for the confidence this defense has had over the last couple of weeks. And I think, the confidence that the front seven are having, which, again, has never really been a question mark for me as far as talent, as far as depth. I just think they're playing better.
You seen Mason Smith kind of flash a little bit more the last 3 weeks than he did the first 4 weeks?
I'm calling his name a lot more.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And so, yeah, to not be flippant about it, I think he's playing his best football. And again, all of us have to remind ourselves, including me, that, it was basically a year off from playing football. So, how much of that contributed to the early part of the season? How much has, Pete Jenkins coming in and kind of taking those guys up front? Not that he hasn't impacted, all of the front seven, but I think he takes a special liking to those guys right there on the line of scrimmage. And, from all indications from LSU's coaching staff, they've really bought into it. And he's become not only a helper to the coaching staff, but also a mentor off the field to some of these guys. And I think Mason Smith is one of those that has taken this opportunity to get better fundamentally, to help his technique. I think he's taken it wholeheartedly, and I think we're seeing the results of it now.
You've been inside Bryant-Denny a few times. How big a deal would it be to get Emory Jones back at right tackle, to not have to put that on Lance Hurd to go out there on the road in that environment?
No, that's huge. You want a guy that's been in some battles, and I think Emory Jones Jr. is certainly one that can help you. The thing that I guess if there's something that's been a little concerning the last 3 weeks, including that second half of the Missouri game, has been the number of penalties and pre-snap penalties, and certainly when you go into Bryant-Denny with this matchup, Alabama fans certainly going to be fired up because of last year's game. All of that goes into it. It's going to be a loud and hostile environment. And hopefully you're going to get some opportunities inside the red zone. And, when you get into those end zones, it's going to get loud. So, yeah, I think that's a big boost to get him rested this week, last week, and have him ready to go a week from Saturday.
It's been talked about a lot, but it is kind of remarkable, the parallels from last year to this year in terms of the schedules and the ups and downs. What have you made of that, and how much do you think that the staff can use that to kind of coach the guys through the next couple of weeks?
No, I think they're going to lean on that a little bit, just simply because I think Coach Kelly, for the most part, while he certainly does point out things that need to be improved, he doesn't shy away from those. He also is very tuned in to making sure there are some, overly optimistic feelings and vibes inside that building. And I think even when you look at the two losses, while completely different from a year ago, there is a chance to say, look, guys, this has been done before. This path has been walked before, and we can do that again. And then you go in and try to correct the things that maybe have been continually plaguing this LSU team, whether it's been offense, defense, or special teams. But I think they rely on that a good bit, because if you've listened to Coach Kelly, maybe not in the last week, maybe two with these last two games, but he's made mention of that before. So for me, I got to believe that's, if there's any doubt, if there's any down days, that's brought up of what happened last year.
We'll talk about LSU and Alabama next week when we chat, but you spend an hour every week with Brian Kelly at TJ Ribbs and around him just a little bit. And I'm curious if he seems to be any different or have his feet on the ground a little bit more in year two, or is there anything different at all between this time last year and now this time this year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think number one, he got here with, close to 300 wins. Now he does have 300 wins. So I think he has belief in his system. Now, once you move from South Bend to Baton Rouge, there are some things you have to learn. You have to know where everything is and how the building works, and all of that goes into it, not to mention the X's and O's and a staff and a team. So I think all of that having been done last year, you're really able to see him a lot more. I don't know if confidence is the word. Sometimes that's misconstrued as a negative, but I just think he's comfortable with the building. He's comfortable with what they have system-wise. And again, I've said it since day one working with him. I don't think there's a moment too big. I don't think there's been a situation, even with the ever-changing world of college football, that he hasn't had some experience in. And whether he got it right the first time or not, he certainly learned from it. And they immediately go back and make corrections to the system and the overall picture so that when that pops up again, they know the right response. So I think he's just extremely comfortable with where this program is and certainly where it's headed.
Will you be in the PMAC on Monday night watching some basketball?
Yeah, I got to call the game. Coach Brady and I, we get an exhibition practice as well. So we will be there on Monday, I think, covering it on radio and on SEC Network Plus. So we're pulling double duty on Monday. Looking forward to seeing Coach Brady. And I'll be honest with you, I'm excited to see this team. I've taken in several practices, and last year there was big gaps in games, as you well know, where the ability to put the ball in the cylinder just escaped this team. I don't think that's going to be a problem this year. They can score. They've got scores. And again, I think it now comes down to who are going to be the five he wants to throw out there, and what does 6 through 10 or 11. Finding that rotation will be key. And I don't know that we'll get the answer on Monday, but they're certainly working towards that.
Looking forward to it. I'll be in there as well. We'll see you on Monday. Enjoy your weekend off. We'll talk next week.
All right. Well, tee 'em high, shoot 'em low this weekend.
I'm going to do whatever I can do. There's probably just going to be some beers involved, to be quite honest. That's what we're looking forward to.
Me too.
All right, Chris. See you, man. He is Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. I didn't realize that they were going to be on radio on Monday for the exhibition, and I did know that the game would be on SEC Network, and it makes sense that they would just dub the radio call over it. So that's awesome. For those of you who aren't going to head out to the PMAC on Monday for the exhibition for the men's basketball team, you can just stream it. It'll be on all the streaming platforms via ESPN. All right, Saints and Indianapolis coming up on Sunday. I'll give you my pick for that coming up next. But first, just want to remind you one more time about the Dreams Come True Kids on the Catwalk. It's tonight at the Country Club of Louisiana. Going to be Dreams kids that are walking the catwalk. Flynn Foster there to escort, Richard Condon, among other dignitaries from around the area. T-Bob's going to be there doing a live and silent auction. So it's just going to be an awesome, awesome event. Dreams Come True is such a wonderful, wonderful organization here in Louisiana that raises money for children that are battling illnesses at a young age, as well as their families. And we're just happy to make as many dreams as we can come true. This is going to be a phenomenal event this evening out at CCL. We'll have a great representation from Guarantee this evening. So just wanted to mention that one more time on the day of the event because we've been telling you about it here for the last 3 weeks or so. So looking forward to an awesome event this evening at CCL. All right, let's come back with the Saints Colt pick. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Whew, Jersey Mike's. Love telling you about Jersey Mike's. I mentioned last week they brought in subs for the office. You can do that for your office, and it doesn't mean you just have to have like one sub. They brought us multiple subs. They brought us all the original Italian as well as the club sub, which are different and both fantastic. The reviews were awesome. They've got boxes of 12 individually wrapped subs that you can have, or you can do individually boxed lunches so everyone gets a box with a sub as well as a cookie and some chips. So you can do it any which way. And if you place your catering order with our friends over there on Highway 30 in Gonzales near the new Heritage Shopping Center, 20% off for Hunt Palmer Show listening. It's just a little bit past lunchtime at this point, but swing on in there and grab yourself a sandwich or get some for lunch if you're heading out to a high school game later on Friday. Swing on by Jersey Mike's and grab you a delicious cold or hot sub. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the the countryside, I saw him ride. One day they found him.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Board's marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Week 9 in the prep football season, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by Brock. Catholic High and Scotlandville kick off at 7, and that's immediately followed by Louisiana Prep Scoreboard presented by Lake Urgent Care on YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
The Baton Rouge Zydeco take to the ice for the first time tonight, facing off with the Columbus River Dragons. Single game tickets start at just $10, and you can get them online at RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com or through Ticketmaster, or you can register for a chance to win Baton Rouge Zydeco hockey tickets from us at 1045ESPN.com. Looking for something to do tonight? Head over and watch the Zydeco play. They'll be downtown in the River Center. Should be a lot of hockey. One thing that you can generally count on with minor league hockey, goals and fights. If you're looking for elite defense play, I'm no hockey expert. It's usually not what you're going to get in minor league hockey. So it should be entertaining, and I think they'll do very well. Their crowds for their first 3 games that they had as kind of a pilot went very well. So hopefully that's the same deal tonight downtown in Baton Rouge. All right, the Saints are headed to Indianapolis for a Sunday showdown with the Colts. The Colts at this point 3-4 on the season. Saints are reeling, having lost 4 of 5. It's just time to get things on track. The Saints have had a mini bye here after a Thursday night game. And look, we've talked to Sharif Ishak, we've talked to Luke Johnson, we've talked to a number of people, and the understanding is that things are not great in Saints land right now. There's some frustration. There have been some poor body language. There have been some outbursts, but when everything calms down and they meet with the media, they've kind of said the right things. Was Chris Olave's arrest this week Positive, certainly not. Do I think it's something that's going to be a big impact on the season or this game? I do not. I just think this is two teams looking for a win in some pretty crummy divisions. The AFC South's not awesome, and the NFC South certainly is not awesome. And the Saints have not played well, but are still right there in the thick of things and need to find a way to get a win. They're on kind of their tour of the AFC South. They went to Houston and played. They had Jacksonville. Now go up to Indy, of course, opened with Tennessee. And I told you yesterday, this is a Colt team that is not good on the defensive side of the football. They're 22nd in the league in total defense. They're 21st in run defense. They're 30th in scoring defense. The Browns' backup quarterback, P.J. Walker, was in there last week, and they scored 39 points, okay? Now, they got a defensive score, but they scored more than 30 points. This has got to be a situation where the Saints figure something out on offense. Now, I have pled for this all week, and it's time to make it happen. They've got to get Taysom Hill more involved in terms of running the ball in the red zone. He was limited in practice earlier this week, but by all accounts, he's going to be ready to go. Let him run the football. Stop running fades. And if you're going to run a fade, then put Jimmy Graham out there. Now, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't know that they're going to put Jimmy Graham out there. I do think they can run Taysom Hill. You're going to move the football on the Colts. Everybody's moving the football on the Colts. You've got to find a way to punch the ball in when you get down there. Now, whether that's Derek Carr getting some protection and finding guys open in the end zone on well-conceived routes, or just snapping it to Big Taysom Hill and letting number 7 get after it, that remains to be seen. But they need to figure something out there. Look, the Saints' defense has been good. The Colts' running game has been very good. This is a team that ran it for 168 yards on the Browns, and nobody was gaining yards on the Browns. Jonathan Taylor's been back for 3 weeks. He's a rich man. He's a happy man, and he's running the football. He got 18 carries last week, but they're involving Zach Moss as well with 18 carries last week in the game. And Gardner Minshew has been fine. Like last week against a really good defense, he threw for 305 yards and a pair of touchdowns. He did get sacked 4 times. He did throw an interception. He's not infallible, but he's been fine. He'll be in a home crowd and he'll play another good defense this week. You look at the Saints defensively, and I like what I see, and I feel like they're going to be healthier this coming week than they were last week. DeMario coming back. Tyrann Mathieu, we'll see what they can get out of him. But you should be able to hang with the guys out wide. I look at this receiving core for Indianapolis, and I see Michael Pittman, who's a nice player. Josh Downs had 5 catches last week. He's a fine player. But is it a terrifying unit? It's not. It's not nearly had the star power that Jacksonville did last week. And the Saints consistently, over the last kind of full season, have been holding folks around 20. And so that's the goal in this game, is to hold Indianapolis around 20. You should be able to do that. And then you're playing a weaker defense without dynamic playmakers, and your offensive line should be healthier. Ryan Ramczyk comes back. You ought to be able to do some things offensively in this game if you're the New Orleans Saints. It just remains to be seen. And quite frankly, my confidence level in the Saints is shot. I have not given up on the Saints. My confidence level is shot. This is a pick'em football game. It's just one that's very likely to turn the corner into the fourth quarter and be a dead heat. Are the Saints going to make some plays late to win the game, like they did against Tennessee in the opener when they hit Shaheed down the field for a huge third down pickup and made the plays you needed to? Or is this going to be like Jacksonville, where you can't get the stop you need late in the game to win it? Is this going to be like Houston, where you can't punch it in late and make the plays you need to make? Right now, I'm in a position with the Saints team to kind of default toward the negative. So as I sit here and I look at this game on Sunday, I've got the Colts winning it 27-21. That would be a disappointing effort, really, by both units. If the defense were to allow 27 and the offense to allow 21, it would be a disappointing effort. But I'm looking at a team that's been disappointing for better than a month. They've lost 4 out of 5. And a couple of those are the teams that aren't that great or were in pathetic performances. I don't know what Tampa is or not, but I sit here and look at them, and for the Saints to score 9 points, that's putrid. So I'm just not in a blind belief mode with New Orleans. They need to go get this game because they're coming back home to play a bad Bears team. And if you lose to Indy, come back home, and the Boo Birds come out against the Bears and you trip over yourself in that one, lights out. That's where you are. It's not a must-win. You still got plenty of runway here. But you can see those dominoes fall. You knock this domino over and lose to the Colts, that Bears domino is pretty easy to see falling, and then you've messed the whole floor up. So it's an important game for the Saints. These are 2, 3, and 4 teams. The Colts haven't been great at home. They're only 1 and 3. The Saints have won a couple of games away from the Dome. I would love it if the Black and Gold could go to Indy, eat some shrimp cocktails at St. Elmo's, and knock out the Colts. I'm just not picking it as we sit here today. All right, let's move into our final segment of the day. It's going to be Take It or Leave It, and then I'm going to take out for the weekend. We're back after this on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Boudreaux's Electric. Neil Melissa Boudreaux. 40 years owning and operating Boudreaux's Electric, a certified Generac generator dealer and a premier Generac generator dealer. They're in the top 3% nationwide. If you've got a home and you want to protect yourself from power outages, Boudreaux's can do it. If you own a commercial property or a business and want to protect yourself from power outages on that front as well, Boudreaux's can help you. I'll tell you this, when you get a Boudreaux's Generac generator installed, they don't just go slap one right next to the house and say, hey, fire away. They customize it to your home or business based on the size of that home or business and what you need the generator to power. And also, they're going to monitor that generator for you off-site so that if it fails for some reason, they'll know about it and they can come fix it. Boudreaux is such a fantastic company. They're expanding into Gonzales. You can call them at the new Gonzales number. It's going to ring their original branch, but 225-300-9889. 225-300-9389. I messed that first one up. 225-300-9389. That is Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, Our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an
This Sunday, we bring you a trio of NFL games. We start with the noon kickoff, the Rams at Cowboys. Immediately following that, it's the Bengals and 49ers. And then our night game, the Bears and Chargers. Tune in to catch all those games here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Love Rouse's Supermarkets. In fact, love Rouse's Supermarkets so much, I'm going to tell you about them right now, and then I'm going to go to the one on Burbank and Lee in about 7 minutes. So we'll be there from 3 to 5, hanging out right in front of the Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Be giving away shirts and cups and hats and keychains and all kinds of stuff. Talking some ball, and love meeting the listeners out there at the Rouse's Burbank and Lee. Download the Rouse's app. It makes things so easy on you in terms of shopping. I actually like going into Rouse's and shopping. I'm going to do that after I'm done for dinner tonight. If you don't have time, you're just running all over the place, got things to do, don't have time to do some shopping inside the store, download the Rouse's app. You can do your shopping at the tip of your fingers. Your personal shop is going to go in there, do your shopping for you, and they'll walk it right out curbside when you are ready. Best part, if you spend $35, no extra charge for your personal shopper to do the shopping. And if you spend $100, you can put in the code SAINTS20 and save $20 on your grocery shopping. Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. All right, last order of business for me. Take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Texas got a commitment from 5-star wide receiver Ryan Wingo from St. Louis.
Yeah.
Longhorns are riding momentum into the SEC. Take it or leave it.
Feels like it right now. I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
That can certainly change. You drop a couple of games and whatnot. I know Quinn Ewers is not going to play this week. They're going to play a couple of different guys in that game. But and Arch Manning may play some. But they're recruiting at an elite level. We know that at this point. Colin Simmons and Ryan Wingo in this class. We got a couple other 5-stars. And you expect that from Texas in this era. Sark's doing a good job of that. The question is, can they capitalize and win out and give Oklahoma a run for their money in the championship game and see if they can get into the playoffs? Momentum's a fickle thing. It can go away pretty quickly. But right now, it feels like Texas is coming in hot. And you wonder if that fact or opinion of mine that looks pretty reasonable would affect A&M's decision-making. And you look at a lot of folks around college football that have eyes on A&M think that that's the case. They've got to be kind of reactionary. We always see Auburn being reactionary when it comes to Florida and now a little bit to Georgia. And I wonder if A&M's not looking over at Austin going, oh, they're winning all these games. They're going to go 11-1. They got a top 5 class, maybe the best class in the country. Like, there's a lot of buzz there. Do we need to change something up, or do we risk going stale with one more year? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but you just wonder if it's an effect at all.
All right, moving on here. Kim Mulkey's Lady Tigers will host East Texas Baptist University. That's a long one.
It is.
In the team's first exhibition of the season tonight at 7, they'll score 100. Take it or leave it.
I will take that. You're talking about a team that's going to be way overmatched. I think Kim will get a lot of subs in there in the second half, and this one won't be very competitive. But I do think they'll score 100. If you go back to last year, the first couple of months, that women's basketball schedule was pretty light, and they made light work of a lot of people and scored 100 and a lot. So I know Kim's goal is not to run up the score here, but I don't know if there's much she can do. And you've assembled the most talented roster in women's college basketball, and you face a team that's not in your division, literally. I think that it may get out of hand. So hopefully the Lady Tigers put the right foot forward tonight, play well, shoot it well, and move on to the next one. They got one more exhibition before they crank things up out in Vegas, where they will open the season.
Josh Smith and the Rangers will win the franchise's first World Series. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that one. There's something about this Diamondbacks team. Like, there's no star power there. Like, Carroll's kind of become a little bit of a star, and you obviously know that there was a chance that Gallen could win the Cy Young. But it's just kind of a faceless, nameless team that won like 86 games this year, 84 games this year, and then like, oh, here they are, and they've kind of just knocked them off game by game. Like, the Brewers had an elite pitching staff and won the Central and knocked them off, and they go to Philly and they take care of business in that one as well. So there's something to this Diamondbacks team. I will I will concede to them at this point. We'll see if my feelings change as they move forward in the World Series. But right now, as I look to it, I think I like the Diamondbacks.
Georgia, Florida is the best neutral site game in college football. I mean, I don't know. Texas A&M, Arkansas, that's a really good one. Anyways, take it or leave it.
A&M Arkansas is in a cool venue. There's no doubt. Army-Navy is a neutral site game that they play yearly. So what else am I looking for that's, generally speaking, neutral site as I look through?
Does Florida State, do they always play home and away?
They play home and home.
Okay.
Texas and Oklahoma. That's the
yeah,
obvious one.
That's the best one.
That would be, so I have the different perspective from a lot of people that are listening to me, and that my two college roommates are from Memphis. They went to high school in Memphis, and their very close group of high school friends really scattered from Memphis. They had a really close friends that went to Tennessee, really close friends that went to Georgia, really close friends that went to Alabama, Ole Miss, and then they went to LSU. So it was we spent a lot of time at other colleges when we were in school, and I've kept up with a lot of those guys, and we're in a pick'em that we use every week, and so I know a lot of folks that went to Georgia. I know probably 10 or 12 people that went to Georgia that are my age that I keep in touch with. And they talk about that trip as just like being so awesome. You go down to Jacksonville. It's this weekend every year, which is October. The weather's like it is where we are right now. It's like 75 degrees. They go to the beach. It's not like, scorcher where you're sweating. They literally spend 3 days on the beach. They go to the game. It's 50-50. It's generally a pretty competitive football game between two high-octane programs. That, to me, kind of going to the beach and doing that in Jacksonville may sound cooler to me than going to the Texas State Fair and eating fried Snickers bars. Like, I would like to do that too, but I think I might lean towards Georgia, Florida on this one. I'm going to give them the nod, and I'm still going to call it the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, even though we determined for some reason that's not politically correct. Whatever.
All right, last one here. Victor Wembanyama made his debut last night.
He did?
Victor will be an all-star this season. I mean, they vote for this. I think it's like a fan vote, right?
Yeah, I'll take it. We got a San Antonio native in the office here. Taylor loves him some Spurs, and he feels like they're back. They had the Parker, Ginobili, Duncan run, and now he thinks that they've got it all figured out since the Kyrie debacle. And
they did lose to the Mavericks.
Yes, they did lose.
And Victor didn't look great. I mean, he's okay.
He blocked that shot to start out, which looked like go-go gadget, and then he knocked down a couple of threes. What I was reminded of when I saw Victor's highlights, I did not watch the game, full disclosure. When I saw his highlights today, I was reminded of the phrase that Will Wade said when he was talking about Marlon Taylor. For those that remember, Marlon Taylor was just a ridiculous athlete that played at LSU. He wasn't a great shooter, wasn't a great ball handler, but he could jump like crazy and guard. And Will would say he just makes 3 or 4 plays a game that no one else on the floor can make because he's such a freak athletically. And I think about that with Victor. It's like there just aren't any other guys in the league that are 7'5" or whatever he is that play like that and can do some of the things he can do. So we'll see when he fills out like what it looks like. But that block he had to start the game, that's an NBA guard who pulls up at the elbow thinking he's going to shoot a shot, and it gets blocked from a place that guy had no idea that the shot could be blocked from. Like most shots that get blocked, you feel like
right in front of him.
They're contested at the ring.
Yeah.
Or this guy just pulled up to shoot a jump shot, and Victor's got an 8-foot wingspan, so he just reached out and blocked it. He goes up and catches that alley-oop, and he can literally touch the rim without jumping, and he can rise up and make some threes over folks. So it's going to be an interesting watch with him, just like it is with Zion, because you look at him do things, you go, oh, wow. Like there are plenty of incredible players in the NBA that do awesome things, but you don't look at it and go, well, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Like, a guy goes for 50 points. Russell Westbrook, pulls up and goes for 50 points and 15 assists and 10 rebounds in his time. Like, that would be like, oh, nice game. That's really well done. This is like, oh. And so it's just the uniqueness factor of Victor that I think people will gravitate towards. And he'll probably make the All-Star team because they're kind of looking at him towards one of those faces of the league. And it's become kind of increasingly so that these faces of the league and highest profile players in the league are not American born. You look at the reigning 2-time MVP in Denver with Jokic. You look at what you've seen from the Greek Freak and Luka, and now you see Victor, and it's crazy how international the NBA is. It's good stuff. Major League Baseball is like that as well. It's just the highest level of play, and I like watching all of it. I'm just not going to spend a lot of time on October the 25th watching the NBA. Just for future reference. All right, that's it for me here on this Thursday. Open things up, talking LSU special teams, which we have not done a ton of. If you'd like to hear about that, Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Luke Johnson talking black and gold at 1:15 in his normal Thursday segment. You can catch that. Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Heard some sound from Matt McMahon. I thought a really pointed quote from the head man of the LSU men's basketball program, one that I had not heard him say in a year and a half as the head guy. My survivor pick is going to be the Eagles in Washington. Gave you best win and worst loss. My SEC picks against the spread to open hour number 2. The voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair at 2:15, and my pick for Saints Colts at 2:30. You can always also catch that at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Everything on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, as well as YouTube. That's going to do it for me for the rest of the week. Taylor Sharp's in the captain's chair tomorrow for a Football Friday presented by Corks. Thanks to Rouse's. I'm headed to Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. Hope to see you there. If not, I'm back on Monday. Have a great weekend. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.